Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Payne Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
I saw Victoria Coates, who was on this show last week, on with Maria yesterday, and she was great. And if you're talking about Iran or Russia or China, any one of these places around the world, and the United States, of course, the VP of the Heritage Foundation, my friend Victoria Coates, back here on Sid and Friends in the morning. Victoria, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. Happy Monday.
You too. Great job with Maria yesterday. And
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I get like jealous. It's a weird thing. It's like, is she hers? Is she hers or is she mine? Which one is it? You know?
I have plenty of time to go around.
Right. There's plenty of Victoria to go around. And you do such a great job with this stuff, specifically Iran. Let's start with that right there. President Trump was on this show Tuesday. He talked about, Sid, I got this big armada ready to go. I don't have to use it. I don't want to have to use it. I want to make a deal. Tehran has already come back and said, listen, we're going to have a regional war. If this president touches us, we are ready to go. Israel has shut down the airspace 2 or 3 times over the last couple of weeks. So it is brewing, and it doesn't seem like to me, and you know better, that Iran is really about to make a deal anytime soon. What's happening in Tehran?
Yeah, it would be very out of character for them. The only time they've ever done something like that was at the tail end of the Iran-Iraq war when they were losing badly. And to survive, they needed to do what the Supreme Leader referred to as draining the poison chalice and making some very significant concessions, but they did survive. And so I think what they're facing now in President Trump is a president they know will act. They know from this past June that he would act. They know from the action against Qasem Soleimani in January of 2020 that he will act. And they know from absolute resolve last month against Maduro that, you know, he will reach out and touch them. So,
and by the way, you could also include in that when he took out their nuclear facilities just a couple of months ago.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was talking about with last June.
Oh, right.
Midnight Hammer. And, you know, as we actually wrote a report on this at Heritage last May, saying, you know, if you stand up to the Iranians, they will back down. They're a bully. And what was revealed in June is they are defenseless against both the United States and Israel. And the president has poured massive amounts, not just the Abraham Lincoln, not just the aircraft carrier, although that is 4.5 square sovereign acres of U.S. or acres of sovereign U.S. territory, I think, which is an important signal to them. But tons of Patriots, more THAAD interceptors are going in. So, you know, he has everything in place to protect our assets and our people. And I think, you know, if he does take action, we will be well protected against the Iranians.
Do you still think that somewhere in his heart of hearts, what he'd like to do is kill the Khomeini? Do you think that Trump would like to do that, but doesn't necessarily think it's a good idea in terms of diplomacy moving forward? That's something maybe we should absolutely do, no?
Well, I think he certainly deserves some retribution after what he's just done and what he's done over the last 30 plus years as Supreme Leader. I mean, the thousands of American deaths on his hands, and then now tens of thousands of innocent Iranians were apparently massacred last month, and nobody even knows yet the breadth of that depravity. I don't know of another word for it. So yes, I think that Khamenei could really use some. He could meet his maker, and I would not be in any way mournful about that. He's threatened me personally repeatedly, so I have grounds.
Wait.
That said,
wait. He's threatened. Yeah. He's threatened who repeatedly?
Me. I'm on the list.
Hold on. Stop it right here. You're telling me that the Khomeini has threatened my friend Victoria Coates?
Yeah, I can text you the poster they put out with my picture on it.
Oh my God! What did it say? How long ago was this?
It was a couple of years ago. It was after Soleimani. It was during the Biden administration. There's an article about it in NBC because it was Matt Pottinger and Rob Greenway and I were all on this list of folks that they were recommending for assassination. And we reached out to the Biden administration, asked for some, not, a security detail, but some additional protection. And they completely ignored us. And so eventually we gave the letter to NBC News and they wrote it up, and they never did do anything to protect us. And that was awful. But yes, so I have zero sympathy for Khomeini. I think the world would be a better place without him. That said, I think the president does have a fundamental issue with taking out another head of state. So I think it's not something he would do lightly. I'm not saying he wouldn't do it, but I think it's something that would be a pretty weighty decision for him.
Do you think that I sound crazy when I say that I'm a little jealous that I wasn't on the list?
I do have some friends who asked what else they had to do.
Right. I want to get on. I told Trump to bomb Iran a year ago, which he did. In terms of the weaponry, I know, of course, we will not allow Iran to ever be a nuclear state, but they've got some very, very dangerous missiles, too, that I know we also want to be basically put on ice. Correct me if I'm wrong. Does that seem to be, right now at least, in terms of a deal moving forward, the big issue in that, yeah, we'll talk about the nuclear stuff, but the missiles, no, you can't touch that?
The president has added that as part of his demands for whatever this deal would look like. He's been saying you cannot have a nuclear weapon. And so he, I believe, means that we're going to have a verifiable dismantling of their enrichment facilities. We can talk about civil nuclear down the road, but right now the key is to get all of that out of there, verify that it's all been removed. They haven't been keeping any secret archives, that kind of a thing. And then, yes, the missiles have to go as well. They're an intolerable threat to Israel. That's why all of these vessels are in the Persian Gulf. They're all carrying Aegis missile defense systems, which can intercept a lot of those going towards Israel from Iran. That's what worked so well in the two engagements with Iran last year. So that that has to be part of this. It's why the original Obama era nuclear deal was fatally flawed, is they didn't address any of these other things. They slowed down some nuclear progress, true, but then they enshrined Iran's claimed right to enrich. It had a time limit on it that has expired. It expired last year, and it did nothing about missiles or regional proxies. So that deal, I mean, if you got the Obama folk and now the Biden folk running around saying this is all caused by ceasing to comply with the JCPOA, that's just false. The JCPOA was part of the problem.
I did ask you about Cuba last week. I said, what seems to be the holdup? I know the D.C. was very, very upset that Cuba did heckle a U.S. diplomat, a big crowd in Cuba heckling a U.S. diplomat. And it looks like Trump is just about done at this point. He wants to get something done. He's ready to cut off the oil supply for Cuba. So is it fair to say that Cuba just days away?
Yeah, and I think what we're going to see is a very strong push from the Cuban diaspora here in the United States, the Cuban community, primarily in Florida, also in Texas. And there are other groups really reach out to start working with people on the island. And that's what is potentially so positive. It's a similar situation to Venezuela. But bear in mind, a quarter of Venezuela's population, most of them young people, have fled. I mean, one of my daughter's boarding school classmates can't go back to Venezuela or couldn't go back for a long time. And so that whole generation is going to go back to Venezuela and really reinvigorate the country. Same thing with Cuba. You have Cuban-American businessmen, who are just so eager to get back on the island. And I think I mentioned this to you before. I would just want to see a big old Trump hotel on the beaches.
Me too. That'd be great. Boy, that really would be great. One more for you. I want to move over to China now. You did such a great job on Iran and Cuba. I did read that Trump is ready to launch a $12 billion mineral stockpile to counter China. What do you know about that?
Yeah, no, this is incredible. And so it's part of a kind of an all of government effort that they're putting on to make sure we have plenty of the rare earth materials that we need. And we're partnering with countries like Australia, did a very important agreement with them, I believe in November, to produce and refine these rare earths in Australia, contribute to our stockpile. We're exploring our resources here at home, and then he's putting the heft of, say, the Import-Export Bank, the EXIM Bank, behind this. They're going to be doing a lot of the financing, so we can guarantee these projects. And we're free marketeers at Heritage. We don't love a lot of government intervention, but if we didn't do this, China would just flood the market with cheap materials, put all of these projects out of business. We need these major investments to be bolstered by guaranteed purchases of the product at a certain price to make them viable. So this is really, really important for our security.
Listen to this podcast now
On the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.